Hello and welcome back, beautiful soul, to another episode of Permission to Follow Your Inner GPS. We all have that guided purpose soul path. That's what we came here to do. And today we have a beautiful soul, another one, Rosario Garcia, who is a postpartum doula, Reiki master, and one of the things that she really loves to do is to help connect mothers and babies so they can deepen their connection and their bond. Please welcome Rosario Garcia. Hello, gorgeous.
Hello. It's so good to be here.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. So please tell us about you, who you are, and what you do. What is a doula?
So my name is Rosario, and I am a postpartum doula. And part of that entails providing information to new parents, mostly mothers, but because we have such a diverse community, I also provide to the LGBTQ community as well. So I give them information on infant feeding, emotional and physical recovery post-birth, mother-baby bonding, father-baby bonding. Dads kind of tend to get pushed to the side a little bit, and I like to pull them in and have them all kind of connect with the baby together. I also help them promote infant soothing and give them tips on basic newborn care. We don't have a lot of toolkits that we come home with from the hospital. And so I like to be the human toolkit for all the parents out there. Because, you can read and read and read, but not every baby is going to respond to what you've read. So that's why I'm here.
Well, that sounds amazing. And I've heard of doulas before, so I have a little bit of understanding, but not postpartum, which I think is so important.
Right.
I have children, but I've heard so many moms, new moms, really go through a tough time after giving birth.
Yes, I think there's so much focus on being pregnant and the baby itself that when the baby actually arrives, it's all kind of like, what do we do now? What's next? The first 3 to 4 days are probably the most overwhelming and confusing, and they're exhausting. New parents are just exhausted, and when there's no sleep, there's lack of care. So I really like to help parents get the sleep, the rest, especially after birth, because it can be a very overwhelming experience. There's a range of emotions and hormones and just so much built up to that moment that postpartum there's just there's no care. You're just kind of left alone and trying to figure out this new little beautiful creature, but yet you've grown to know this baby within you, but when it's finally there with you, you're like, what are you? How do I know you? And so I really think it's very important for families to have someone like me come in and help them get the rest they need, get recovered, and really get to be the parents that they know they were meant to be. There is a difference between a birth doula and a postpartum doula. A birth doula will be there all through birth, and some birth doulas do postpartum work as well. So it's the continuity of care. I personally am not a big fan of birth. That is just not my forte. I love babies. That is my super passion, our babies.
Do you each, we're already deviating in that. I hear the questions from my guides. It's like, okay, one at a time. You referenced reading books, and not every baby responds to the books because, well, that's natural. So how are you able to tune in to each couple or single parent, male or female, mom or dad, to help them with their baby?
So first of all, I like to meet with the parents prior to baby being born, and that's to see if we're going to be a good fit and how we're going to work with one another, because communication in this piece is extremely important. Everybody has to be on board. Everybody has to be ready to step up to this new role, and it's very hard to do that with just reading a book, because a book is very general. So for me, I meet mom and baby, and typically I do connect with baby in utero still. It's a very, I can't explain it other than it's a connection, and we're there. And then, a lot of parents will call me the day that the baby is born, or a few days later, and let me know what's going on, and I will go visit the whole family and get to know where we're at and what their needs are, because families typically have this great idea of how birth is going to go, and you're going to have this wonderful, beautiful, blissful birth, and things are just going to go perfectly, and you're going to leave with your cute little baby. That doesn't happen all the time. And so we work through those emotions of how birth might not have gone as expected. Often there are traumatic births. So I like to kind of walk mom through those emotions, especially if the baby might be in the intensive care unit, or they might have been taken away for a short period of time due to testing. So I like to come in and, as calmly as possible, get everybody together and talk about what they need in those moments. And in those moments when mom is speaking to me, I typically take baby and I kind of have a conversation. Babies are very responsive. Not everyone, but many people think that newborns are just kind of these little lumps of flesh. But no, they are actually very responsive, and they know things. They know a lot of things. And so I like to sit and talk with the baby while mom is, letting me know what her needs are, or I sit with dad and we go over what my role will be in those 12 weeks that I'm with them. Typically I'm with a family about 12 weeks. Sometimes they might need a little bit extra care, and I'll push it to 16 weeks. But I like to know that my parents are confident, and that they are going in this with the tools that they need. So I typically just sit and talk, and we just kind of get an idea of where everyone is at, and then I go into work. And my days are really just spent with baby, feeding, caring for them, doing, bath time and stuff. And I involve parents as well, but I really, really push for parents to rest. We'll do our basic care, like we'll go over basic care for the baby. And then I say, go, like, I've got this. Go sleep, go have dinner. It's very important that the couples bond together as well, because it's a very isolating time for moms or dads, because they're kind of pushed away from each other, because baby takes up so much time and so much energy, that I like for couples to just kind of, even if it's just sitting on the couch together and just talking, laughing, having a snack, I really push for that.
It's like, can you feel then almost like, okay, this is like, okay, stop. Did you always know that this is what you wanted to do, Rosario?
I did. I've loved baby dolls from the time I can remember. In my family, I was the one who everyone left their kids with. I was like the built-in babysitter. My mom took care of kids. She had a daycare, and I kind of hopped on board with that. And I worked in high school, in the high school daycare. I worked as a nanny. I did lots of nanny work in Texas. And then I had my kids, and when I had my daughter, I decided it would just be easier if I ran my own daycare. And I gave her what she needed, and I was able to give lots of other kids in military housing where we lived, an opportunity to grow up with one another. And they're all still friends today. It's pretty cool. And then I kind of narrowed it down that I really just enjoy working with newborns. And I was very good at helping moms get what they needed done while, I was hanging out with them. So I would, go and be a mother's helper without really knowing that this was an actual job. And when a friend of mine mentioned, wow, this would be really good for you, I went with it, and it was something that just resonated completely with me. And I just watched it grow, and it's grown into something spectacular. So
it sounds like this would be more of pretty much all the time a one-on-one, or 1-on-3, but a physical, person to person, rather than something that you might be able to do online. Is there, because we're going to be having viewers, people watching from all over, is there something that you could help couples with virtually, or do you need to be in person?
I feel like there are benefits to being in person, obviously, the one-on-one. But there are some things that I think I could help them with virtually, such as like swaddling, relaxation techniques that they might not be able to get from reading a book. I can, show them. There's a lot of the basic newborn care that can be done virtually. But obviously it lacks the personal touches to them unless I know them, unless, we've really interacted like you and I virtually, and I know what they need from me, then I can tailor specific needs to, making videos for them, or even just sitting and having a little chit chat. I can definitely do that. There's benefits and, pros and cons.
Of course. You wouldn't be able to, I don't want to focus on what you wouldn't, but this would be amazing, because more than likely there's going to be at least a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 or more, who resonate with you. And that's why I was kind of nudged from over here to ask you that. I was like, okay, so this is primarily, and in person. However, with technology the way it is, you could still do a somewhat in person like we are, with babies and moms and dads.
Yeah.
What has your journey been like? You've shared a little bit of it, kind of transitioned and flowed from daycare and nanny work to mother's helper, and now you're a postpartum doula. Did you have any challenges in transitioning from one to the other?
I actually did. I did have some challenges. When my daughter was born, I did suffer from postpartum depression, and that kind of took up 3 years of my life, just trying to figure out my diagnosis, how to live with it, how I could, cope with it. And I found that, with therapy and medication, everything kind of got clearer for me. I was able to plan what I wanted to do with what I knew, what I was very passionate about. And so there was a time where I just didn't want to take care of kids anymore, because when I took care of kids, it was very exhausting, and I felt that it might have been taking away from my family. And coping with postpartum depression and then taking care of my daughter and taking care of other people's kids, it kind of stacked up. And so there was a point where I was like, is this really really, really what I want to do. And I took about 4 years off of taking, I did not take care of any other people's children, and I really focused inward as to what I really wanted to do, and if this was something that I was very serious about and how I was going to move forward with it. And was it 2010, I believe? Yes, in 2010 I met a life coach, and she encouraged me to get my degree, my bachelor's degree, which I finished up in May. And during that time, I would say it was 2 years in, I found what a newborn care specialist is. And that is basically a postpartum doula, just taking out the personal touches to being a postpartum doula. Newborn care specialist is very baby-centered. And there is it's not as, I don't know how to say this, not as personable as what a postpartum doula would do. So after learning what a newborn care specialist was and actually taking the courses and being certified, I figured I could do both. And it just all unfolded for me. That was about the same time that I learned how to do Reiki. And I thank Reiki so much because it really did help me gain the clarity that I needed. It helped me take that next step and take the next step, along with, healing and pushing all the other stuff aside, all the what ifs. And then, we're here. It was a process. It was definitely not a ding, I want to be a postpartum doula. No, it was a journey.
It was a journey, and having experienced postpartum depression to the degree and the length of time that you did, this would help. I mean, how could it not help you prepare parents not to be in it, but to perhaps flow out of it more quickly or more easily?
Absolutely. I'm able to screen mothers and fathers and do that early on and encourage them to share my findings with their pediatrician. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, but I do know the signs, and I do know what to look out for, and when to gently nudge a mom or gently nudge a dad, because postpartum depression just doesn't affect moms. It affects dads too. It's a whole family. If mama's not well, no, the whole family's not well. She can't care for her baby. She can't care for her husband or partner. Then it becomes problematic. And I can catch that. I can help them get the help they need. And again, if they're worried about no one there to care for the baby, there I am. So, if she wants the support to go with her to see a therapist, again, I will do that for her. I made a vow way back when I first found out that when I was diagnosed, that no mom should ever have to experience that level of isolation and despair that I experienced. And I made it my personal vow to everyone I work with. If you need me, I will help you get through this.
That's so important, because, in a lot of ways, we're all connected. We're all connected energetically and in spirit, but there are a lot of ways that we're connected, but there's also a lot more of isolation in a lot of ways. We're connecting via technology, which is fabulous, but there's only so much a virtual hug can do. And this is not to, take away from what you can do virtually, because whoever reaches out to you is certainly going to be 100% more than what they might have had or could have had, which may be not much. And after a family goes home, it's like, okay, now what?
Right. Absolutely. Connecting with people virtually, I feel like I have a network of postpartum doulas as well as maternal mental health caregivers, if they are in a different state or in a different country, I feel that I have a network large enough that I can help them reach out to people and make those connections. So that way they have the person-to-person connection. Because when we're in that state, being alone is like a warm, comfortable blanket at times, but it's a blanket full of thorns because it's comfortable and warm, but it's not doing us any good. And it might take, someone taking that first step and reaching out with them, because taking the first step can be really scary, especially because now it's a little hard to reach out to doctors. There's a whole thing where mothers are reaching out to their doctors and CPS is getting called on them because they're saying that they have postpartum depression and they need help. And so CPS is involved. And so that makes moms recoil. They don't want to talk about this. It's still very shameful in so many ways. And I'm slowly breaking those barriers. I don't want this to be a shameful thing. Reaching out for help should not bring shame. And you're doing yourself justice by reaching out. It's very important to me that moms really, really understand that taking that first step, while as scary as it is the first step to your new life. And it definitely makes that difference.
How interesting. It's very interesting. So how has Reiki, it said you shared with us that Reiki helped to give you some clarity. How is that helping you be a postpartum doula?
Good question. So Reiki has actually helped me be a better person all around, but it's helped me really connect on a soul level with babies and their moms, whether they realize it or not. And I don't usually tell parents outright that I do this energy work and this is, because some people they freak out. They're not about the woo, and that's completely fine. But babies in their tiny little wonderful state, they are incredible beings of light. They are just pure. That's what they are. And being able to connect with a baby through Reiki is just really connecting to their energetic self, to their energy, their highest self, their purest self. And newborns are their purest self. They have not been bombarded with society's everything. Right. And they're very open channels. And connecting with them, I usually just talk to them. One of my past clients, I had a dream about her before she even called me, which was one, super cool. But two, when I was holding her, all I did was mention, I said, "You came to me in my dream, didn't you?" And she gave me the biggest smile. Mind you, this baby was 3 days old. And I was like, whoa, whoa. And so it was really just talking to them as if we've already met, and holding conversation. Energetically, I just kind of prepare myself before going in and say, I'm ready to work with this family. I'm here for their best and greatest good. Whatever comes of this is going to be part of their path and my path. And, we're coming to work together for the greatest and best good of this precious little baby. And usually that just sets the tone for the whole 12 weeks. And every day that I work with them, my intention is still the same. It is for the greatest and best good of the baby, because babies are our future. I am co-creating a life with their families. And even though it's 12 weeks, which is such a short amount of time in, the big scheme of things, But those 12 weeks are the most important foundational weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They're all of their lives. Those 12 weeks are what set the tone for the rest of the time as a family. And I want to make those first 12 weeks the best and most, what is the word, re-energizing.
Okay.
So that way they feel so confident that they're like, we totally got this. We got this until toddler time comes around, and then that's a whole other story.
And that's a whole nother doula. With your Reiki training and the sensitivity in the sense of being an empath or highly sensitive to energies, how has that helped you to help those mothers and some fathers who are highly sensitive, who are empaths, and all of a sudden on top of the usual
bombardment?
Yes, usual bombardment, then an empath or someone who's highly sensitive, would they not have additional, not necessarily issues, but maybe other things energetically to deal with?
Oh yes, absolutely. There's a lot extra, especially after coming out of a hospital. You know. Yes. So what I like to do is I like to kind of do little guided, I don't like to say guided meditations, but mindful talk downs. We'll sit and, we'll talk quietly. I'll kind of tell them to just kind of imagine themselves in their greatest and like best light, if that makes sense. Like I just kind of have them cleanse themselves of that energy in a more like conversational way, because again, I'm very sensitive to other people's beliefs, and not everyone is good with the meditation. Not everyone responds well to that. And so I just say, kind of let it go. Don't allow that what happened in the hospital to linger anymore. Let's just kind of not necessarily forget. I don't like saying forget, but let's just let it go. And you go take a shower, and while you're in that shower, I've got this. And then, they come out and they feel a little bit better. And whether they realize it or not, I'm sending them Reiki the whole time and kind of getting rid of all that gunk. And if the person or people have a very good response to Reiki, then of course I'll jump right in to, okay, well, let's cleanse your energetic field, go take a bath or go take a shower, and come back. And we usually talk about what they need to talk about, and we cleanse it and let it go. And I give them tools to prevent their energy to get stacked up with gunk or too much worry or anxiety. And so I give them very basic tools such as relaxation techniques, meditation, lots of guided meditations. There's a lot of sleep meditations that I know that they might be interested in. And I give them relaxation techniques for baby too. We do baby massage, we do a little bit of, if they're open to it, essential oil, like either diffusing or, rubbing on themselves or, on baby. And we just kind of set the tone for that. We're here to relax. We're here to recover. And,
You are so in tune with your inner self, your inner your purpose. It is amazing. There's such clarity in what you do and how you do it and how you're expressing yourself. What did it feel like during those few years where you weren't sure what you were supposed to be doing? You just knew you weren't supposed to be, or you couldn't really work with children not in that way anymore?
It was hard. It was definitely hard because I really do love I love working with children. I mean, that is it. That is what brings me the biggest like joy. So not being able to do that, it was really, really hard. And there were times where I wanted to go back to doing daycare work. And there were times where I was just like, I'm just going to do it because this is what I love to do, regardless of this is what I'm supposed to do or not supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But every time I went to do it or went to set out to, you know, make flyers for people to call me for daycare, something would always block me. There was always something. And at the time, I did not realize that it was, you know, that wasn't my path. And I would get really frustrated, and sometimes I would get a little sad that I wasn't doing what I was called or what I felt I was called to do. But I also knew that I needed to take this time to really, really narrow it down, because working in a preschool or working in daycare was just, I knew that was not for me. But I knew that I really just wanted to work with kids, but not in that field, not in that aspect. And it took a lot out of me, actually. It was hard. I didn't know if what I was doing was actually the right thing to do, if taking this time was actually the right thing to do. Looking back, of course it is. I needed that.
Yeah, looking back is easy, right?
Yes. And my kids needed me very much at that point in our lives. It was all very necessary for me to take that break. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I do now. And I'm very thankful for that time, because it gave me that like super boost to really just launch and go for it and not look back. And I have not looked back once.
And the reason that we asked you that question is because in the beginning, you were daycare provider, a nanny, and then a mother's helper. And then you took some time off, or somewhere in there you took some time off to be with your own children. And it's important, because, beautiful soul, that you're watching this and viewing it at whatever point you're coming across it, is that Rosario's path changed. It changed. And for a while, it was not doing anything, but she was doing a lot, but she wasn't physically doing daycare because, and she tried several times. And it's so important to know when to step back and allow whatever, whether it's a day or a few years, to really come through. And she's still working with children, and you are so in tune. You're so tuned in. I can just tell that. It's just amazing. I absolutely love it. What one more thing, if there's just one, what would you like to share with our listeners, our viewers?
If there is one thing I would share is take the time to really, really figure out what makes you happy, what makes you fired up, and what gives you the biggest grin on your face when you're doing it, and go for it. It may seem crazy. It may seem like that's never going to work. You can never do that. You'll never be able to push all that aside and go for it. Just every day do something that will make that dream a possibility. It's taken me 6 years, almost 7 years to get to this, to where I'm just like, I can't help but explode with excitement when I talk about it. But do one little thing that makes it happen, and it has the biggest payoff ever. I mean, I love what I do, and it's because I listened, and at times I didn't want to listen, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. And it said, hey, this is what you got to do. And like you said, I did veer off my path for a little bit, but it was a stillness. It was a real, like, let's get to know what we're dealing with, and then boom, let's go. And when I went, and I I did. And it's kind of like, it'll happen when you're ready, and when everything lines up and it just goes. But you just got to trust that it will line up, and you got to trust that as long as you're doing what you love, it's going to happen.
Yes, absolutely. You are amazing, and thank you so much for being here. Absolutely love your energy, your excitement. And ladies and gentlemen, beautiful souls out there, how can we connect? How can we help them connect with you, Rosario?
So I have a website that I will link at the bottom of the interview, or you can link it either way. And I have a Facebook that you can connect with me to. I'm pretty responsive to both. And pretty soon, well, actually by the time this airs, I will have an app launched. So I'm launching my own app. Yes, so it'll have affirmations for moms and new families. It will have lots of goodies on there, like playlists, so you can get some rest. And there will be, scheduling if you want to schedule with me. And pretty soon I will be launching my YouTube channel with tips and tricks on how to take care of baby.
Perfect. Now, would you please give us your website?
Yes, it is Little Blossoms on Wix. So I don't have the whole, it's Wix site, Little Blossoms. I can link it.
Okay, we'll be sure to to help y'all get connected. And how do they find you on Facebook? Because then they can get to your website that way too, right?
Right. You can connect through my Facebook. It's Little Blossoms Newborn Care. And you can find it through my profile. It's right there. Or I can link it to you at the bottom of the website.
Okay. So if they look for Rosario Garcia, right, on Facebook?
Garcia-Hawks. Yeah.
What's the last name, beautiful?
Garcia-Hawks, Hawks.
Okay, Rosario Garcia-Hawks, or Little Blossoms
Newborn Care Services
on Facebook. Okay,
yes.
Little Blossoms Newborn Care Services.
Yep.
Either way, we'll help you get there. I promise. I promise. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and for sharing everything that you did. It is such a pleasure, and hopefully you'll come back at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time with me. I appreciate you so much.
You're very welcome. And beautiful soul, now that you're at this point, please do take a few moments and connect with us on angeldreamteam.com and take a peek at our Living Spirit and Wellness Global Directory for Empaths. We are growing a community there, and you just may find the right doula or graphic designer. Who knows who you will find, a reader, healer. And thank you so much for being here today. We will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.